Hey, everybody. Welcome to DadsDen of Pop Culture. Welcome to 2026. Welcome to Thor Mondays. We will be taking a journey through the run on Mighty Thor done by Walt Simonson, starting in 1983, in November of 1983, to be specific, with Thor number 337. We're going to take a look at what he did with the series, what he did with the characters, etc. And I mean, what a way to start a series, a run. Look at this cover. Look at this cover. And also notice, shattering the old Thor logo there. They're going to be changing that as we go. But really an impressive way to start a series. Now, the issue before... Yeah, I got to leave that mess up in. That was too good. The issue before saw the end of a bit of a storyline that involved kind of writing Jane Foster out of the series and ending the relationship between Thor and Sif. She made an attempt to live on Midgard with him, and she just didn't like it. She wanted to go back to Asgard, and Thor decided he was going to remain on Midgard. So that essentially ended their betrothal, their relationship. As it says on the top, a turning point in the life of a thunder god. So let's focus instead, though, on Walt Simonson's first issue, starting right now. Stan Lee presents The Mighty Thor. Far beyond the fields we know, the core of an ancient galaxy explodes, and a molten ingot of star stuff is left behind, but not left alone. So already, page 1, we're going cosmic with this one. We're in a galaxy far, far away. And think about the scope. The core of this galaxy explodes. All that's left is this ingot of star stuff. And here are these pincers, really, really tongs, I guess you would say, grabbing that star stuff. And this entity, we don't know who he is at this point, is going to use it to forge something. He brings it down. Look at that sweeping arc. Brings a hammer down on it, and it resounds doom. And as it says up here, the sound of thunder reverberates throughout a billion worlds. So we're taking Thor into a cosmic, epic scale. Once again, Kirby did some great stories in that fashion. Of course, Kirby also did stories with Stan Lee, of course, that were more, set in New York, fighting a villain like, the Absorbing Man. But he liked to go into Asgard. You got the Tales of Asgard back in the day. So that kind of tells you what we're aiming for here. Let's bring in but look at this art. And one of the great things about Simonson is that his art has an angular quality to it that I think works well with the Kirby design of these characters, with the kind of armor that Kirby drew, with the backgrounds, with the technology that he drew. But he's not just sort of aping Jack Kirby's style. It's his own style, but it works well with Kirby. Well, let's see what happens next. Well, what happens next is we go back to Earth, to Midgard, and we see Dr. Donald Blake walking through Grant Park in Chicago, having a nice day out, and he's musing about things here. And so again, what we're doing here, or what Walt Simonson was doing here, is setting up the stories he's going to tell. Those first couple pages, 3 pages, are setting up an arc that's going to run through many, many issues. I think just about the first year of issues But now he's getting into some more character-driven stuff here. So as he's walking, he's musing about some things. Who could guess that within my frail body lies the soul and power of the mighty Thor, waiting to be released by a mere tap of my enchanted cane? And with that power comes a measure of responsibility far beyond anything an ordinary man could bear. Sometimes the burden is so heavy, I wish I could set aside my heritage, even for a day, and be a man, just a man. Yet each and every one of these people is tied to the earth, while I am free to roam the glory of the heavens if I choose, to see things no mortal has ever dreamed of. Despite all the responsibilities, it is no bad thing to be the son of Lord Odin. And then he is struck from behind. But so one of the things that was important in comic books back in the day was the idea that every single comic book that got picked up by somebody was their first, or was the first for that character. And so you get a really nice, right up here, you get this really nice introduction to the character. Here's the alter ego. Thor lies within him. Tap the cane. That's how he gets it. And then we get an insight into where his mind is at the moment. I have these massive responsibilities. They're a terrible burden. But on the other hand, I get to do some amazing things that no mortal will ever get to do. So we're setting up now the story arc. We're setting up the character and how Simonson is going to explore him. So he gets this so-called attack, but in fact, it is actually just some kids playing with a frisbee. But then all of a sudden, a couple guys come in and hustle him into a car. Some guy in the car is yelling, throw the stick in as well. And who is it? Well, it is in fact Nick Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, well, Donald Blake's a little, taken back at first, like, because Nick Fury knows that he's Thor. How do you know? Well, I know things. That's what I'm paid to do. By the way, we also get Nick Fury's flying car in this one. How that didn't show up in the MCU, at least I don't think it did, is a wonder. At any rate, he's got something big going on. He needs the Thunder God. They're coming up to the helicarrier, and I just, again, look at this. So great. There's the symbol on the front of it. The airplane's coming past. Excellent work. You see, here's the car, so you get an idea of the scale. They're jumping you right into the marvels of the Marvel Universe. So he gets this rundown on what's happening. They have some, interstellar probe out there who has captured the images of a starship, and this starship was going past a star, and that star faded out, and they think maybe it did it to refuel itself, which means it's a very, very powerful thing, and it's headed towards Earth, and we need you to check it out. So as he says here, Deader Nadornil, Thor, blown apart by something coming our way. So that he's talking about the probe there. Something real powerful and dangerous. We got to find out what it is, and you're the only Joe who can do it. Will you help us? I love this. Look at how freaking great that art is. Him in shadow. You can see the reflection of my camera. Actually, you see two reflections of my camera. That's amazing. Really nice work. And the answer, of course, is yes. And as Thor goes to check that out, we're going to now visit Asgard. Because, again, Simonson's setting up a whole lot of things here. So Sif has returned to Asgard. She's seeking the counsel of Balder the Brave. But Balder has been going through something, through these issues before this, where he in fact died, went to the realm of hell. He comes back. That is from Norse mythology, although obviously they changed it a bit for Marvel. And he sort of lost the will to be a warrior because he's now seen a lot of the men who he killed in fair, honorable combat back in the day. But seeing those faces, he just doesn't want to be a part of that anymore. And he's feasting with Volstagg. Good old Volstagg, who was not done well in the movies at all, in my opinion. He should have been a really fun character that everybody talked about. afterwards. He's a Falstaff character, a la Shakespeare. So she's kind of disappointed in seeing this. She goes to visit her brother, Heimdall, who guards the Rainbow Bridge. She says, "It is I, Sif. I have come because I have nowhere else to turn. My dear sister, I have heard your troubles. What would you have me do? I am a shield maiden, my brother. Your eyes and ears see and hear all things. Whither can I find the clash of battle to make me happy and ease my emptiness? My poor darling, mayhap only Odin himself can help you now." So Sif's going through it. She's lost this relationship with Thor. She's seeking counsel. And notice also here, Simonson is also introducing you to these various gods. We get Balder, we get Heimdall, and not just introducing them as they exist, but what they're going through. So everybody's going to be getting some character work in this. Well, Thor, because of his hammer, can go through time and space. So he goes out, who knows how many light years away, to visit this ship. And it looks as though it is likely a warship. It actually reminds me a little bit of, Space Battleship Yamato, where they have the gun turrets on top of it. The ship is, controlled by probably some kind of a, computer intelligence, and it sees them coming. And it says something really interesting here. Sensors detect unidentified pursuer on intercept course, energy configurations similar to demon breed, prepare to open fire. To demon breed. Okay. So what's going on with that? Also, if demons are going after you, could be that you're not a bad guy. It does seem like they're being pursued. Well, it targets in on Thor and does indeed begin firing at him. And Thor doesn't take very kindly to that, so he fights back, destroying some weapon systems. He takes a hell of a blast and survives, and he ultimately breaks into the vessel. And he's here noting that while behind me the hull seals, it seals itself shut like a living thing. But if this is truly a living mechanism, then surely that crystal must be its heart. Well, no. In fact, it's not its heart exactly. The ship now, danger, danger. Intruder has breached the hull. Ultimate defense procedure, release, cold sleep, defense. And what crashes through that crystal is this giant fist, which grabs Thor by the face. Okay. We now take another journey into Asgard, where we see Loki. And Loki is sort of exiled, and he's not real happy about all of this. Now, we do get a little bit of a redesign on Loki via Walt Simonson. You will also see the horned helmet, I believe, at some point. But what he's seen is that some Asgardians have strayed into his territory, essentially, on an illegal troll hunt. Apparently, illegal troll hunting is something that Asgardians like to do. You can't be wimpy if you wants to play Popeye. Words of wisdom. And so he spies, the troll hides, and he ends up being caught by Lorelei. Now, Lorelei is the sister of Amora, the enchantress. So she ends up catching the troll with honeyed words and her beauty, as opposed to these guys, riding him down with their horses. And Loki encounters her, and he's got some plans. He says, we might just be able to have a little bit of fun. All right. So what is the thing that grabbed Thor? Well, it's this alien being, very interesting. Looks almost like he's, decked out for football here. And this is the primary defender of the ship. And he thinks that Thor is among the demons that have been pursuing the vessel. And Thor looks like he's willing to sort of try to talk this out for a moment. But this stranger, Bill, Beta Ray Bill, chooses violence. And obviously, Thor is a warrior born, so he goes right into it. So we get this nice fight scene. I love panels like this. I'm telling you right now, if you are a young guy, young gal who wants to draw comic books, there's a lot you can learn from old comics. Now, that's not to say every old comic is, a gem, but a lot of them really are. You want to look at artists like the greats Simonson, Kirby, Carmine Infantino, etc., and look at how they stage a lot of their panels. And I think you really will learn something. So we get this knockdown, drag-out fight between these two, and it damages the vessel, the interior of the vessel. So it needs to put in for repairs. It needs to land. And the closest place for it to land is the third planet of this yellow sun that we call Earth. So it's heading for Earth. Now, here's what's interesting. During the fight, Thor has dropped Mjolnir. So they're going at it hand to hand at this moment. But all of a sudden, he realizes we have strayed close to Earth now, to Midgard. And on Midgard, if he drops his hammer for more than about a minute or so, he changes back into his mortal form of Donald Blake. And that happens right in the middle of the fight. And while Thor could take a hit from Beta Ray Bill, Donald Blake cannot. So Donald Blake goes down. The creature is like, well, I'm going to have to deal with him in a minute. He sees that they're about to make planetfall, so he orders up this stasis field to protect him, and it does, and it protects Donald Blake as well. The vessel lands, and who is there to meet it but, of course, Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. They have sort of these, high-tech looking tanks. Well, the Beta Ray Bill goes looking for the hammer. He finds this stick. It looks like the hammer's gone. Where'd this come from? Don't know. But he smacks it against something, and Beta Ray Bill takes on the powers of the mighty Thor. Now, if you are a longtime reader, you know what this means. Heck, if you're even just aware of the new Marvel movies, you know what this means in terms of being worthy. This is clearly not a bad guy. Now, a new reader who had just picked this one up might not have known that right away. So that's something they were going to discover. So he takes on the guise of the mighty Thor, and he goes out, throws his hammer at the S.H.I.E.L.D., one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicles, and, he says, "Awake, you demons. Your own weapon is about to be turned against you. Stand where you are or feel its power." So again, he still thinks Thor and all these people are demons. They're the ones that have been attacking him. And he's getting ready to really level them. And we see, I think that's a woman, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. "Colonel Fury, I'm registering some sort of atmospheric disturbance. And I'm getting an audio signal too. It's centered around that guy with the hammer. Maybe he's brewing up one of his storms." "I don't think so, Colonel." And who appears? Who appears but the great Odin, king of the gods? "Thor, my son, we have urgent need of thee in Asgard. I must call thee home." And when Odin comes calling, you kind of go. And so, baroom, they all disappear. And then they notice there's another figure on the ship. It is Donald Blake crawling out of the ship. And now he says, oh, here we go. "My cane is gone, and somehow I know that alien is responsible. But the atmosphere, the storm, Odin was here. His presence still lingers, and he did not take me. Only a few hours ago, I nearly envied the mortals around me, and now I may have to join them forever. Father, hear me. Do not forsake me here. Father!" But the lightning storm does not listen, and only the wind and pain reply. A little dramatic there, but you know what? That's how Marvel does comics. Marvel was always a little bit on the dramatic side. It was always heightened. Everything was heightened. The fights were heightened. The speeches were heightened. And of course, with Thor, you had the Shakespearean lingo going as well. So next, a fool and his hammer. Be here, because we'll miss you if you're not around. And we have here the credits at the end. Art and story, Walter Simonson. Lettering, John Workman Jr. Colors, George Roussos. Editing, Mark Grunwald. Editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter. So, and again, I'll just call that out again. Really, really, really nice work there. So we have been introduced in this book to one of my favorite characters ever, Beta Ray Bill. Really great character, and we're going to be with him for a couple more issues as this all gets sorted out. And this was one of the first back issues I ever bought in my life. I still, in fact, have the bag and board that came with it. I paid, yes, the princely sum of $1 for this. Back in the day, I started getting into comics, oh God, what was it, 80, 86, 87, and I probably would have bought it somewhere in that time frame. So some of the earliest stuff that I ever bought, back issue wise, were Walt Simonson's Thor comics, which is why I'm doing this series this year. I covered Alpha Flight in 2024, Justice League International last year. This year is going to be Simonson's Thor. I think we're going to have a really good time looking at these magnificent magazines. It's one of the great runs in comic book history. And I think you're seeing just from this issue alone, the storytelling ability of Simonson. He's setting things up for the long term, right? A lot of things, a lot of character work in there as well. Epic, grandiose scale, but he knows how to bring it back down to a personal level, as we see. I mean, because think about it. We open this thing with the death of a galaxy, right? And this amazing doom. But how do we end the thing? We end the comic with, if I can get there, excuse the blurriness for a moment, but we end, there we go. We end with this personal plea from this man, you know, Father, do not forsake me here. Amazing stuff. And really good storytelling and really good visual storytelling. Really good visual storytelling. So that will do it for Thor number 337 and our first Thor Monday of 2026. Many more to come. We'll take a couple little diversions where it makes sense, where comic stories kind of bleed into another series. And we're also going to look at the Balder the Brave mini-series from Simonson, because that does come directly into this whole storyline that he's doing. So I hope you'll stick with us. If you have anything to say about this book, good, bad, or otherwise, please put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like, maybe subscribe, maybe share with a friend. But until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. Read some Thor, and I will see you again, hopefully soon, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.